Hello there, and welcome to Play by Play. I'm going to be showing you something really dumb that someone said and did, and I'm going to break down play by play the way that manipulations and false generalizations come into being. So today we're going to start off with something real simple, just a quick, 1, 2, 3 situation here. So we've got an image, and we'll start here with the initial comment, right? I think a red flag in a Batman fan is when they see these kid scenes and say Batman shouldn't act like this. So right away, we've got this sort of invented villain, right? This person just said this. There's no proof that anyone is saying these things. And at most, what you'll see is someone kind of get strawmanned where they say, actually, Batman should do X, Y, or Z, Superman should do X, Y, or Z as a way to differentiate the characters and what they bring from a narrative perspective. That doesn't mean that Batman can't do the things he's done in old media. It simply means that when you have all of these colors to paint with, you should use them all in the unique ways. But without the context, we'll never know exactly what this person was strawmanning. So the next thing is, Snyder has really done irreparable damage to Batman. Already, we've changed the topic. Snyder's not mentioned, none of this, and it's a false attribution. So right already, we've got our first real major play. We've got the basic straw man generalization based on nothing, kind of a vague insinuation. But then Drake over here, he comes in, living up to his name as the moronic Drake, and makes it about a completely different group of people. A group of people who, I might add, are constantly bringing up how much they think that empathy and the themes of not falsely judging people are important in movies like Batman v Superman, where Bruce Wayne is clouded by bias and judgment and then sees the error of his ways. That's his entire character arc. And this comes in, and we go back to the original poster again. It says, it's strange because even that version has very compassionate scenes. So now we've got a little bit of truth ekes in, right? It's like, oh yeah, I confirm your weird statement. However, I think that's weird because it's counterintuitive to what the fans would say. At least they're finally acknowledging that that's in there. Drake doubles down. I immediately remembered that after posting my tweet, and yeah, the scenes in Zack Snyder's Justice League where he helped some people and completely disregarded by his fans for some reason. Right here we have not even a straw man. He's not taking something someone has said and he's breaking it apart. He's creating a false identity to be mad at. He's concocting his own villain. He's creating this manufactured enemy. So now he's made up a group of fans. There's no interaction here indicating any of that, and I've never seen any of it in the entire breadth of the Snyder fandom, where people say, I like Batman because he is incapable of empathy or kindness. In fact, most people thought that when in The Flash, Ben Affleck's Batman has the lasso around his hands and he says that his ego's too much to ever give anyone credit, they were upset with that because they said, well, that's not true. He's very humble. He's kind. He really cares about Alfred. And in fact, he makes a joke in Zack Snyder's Justice League that, hey, this is Alfred. I work for him. And he says, I don't deserve you, Alfred, and Batman versus Superman. So he's capable of humility, and he's capable of kindness. And again, that's something that Snyder fans love. So we've watched this shift from a vague argument to shifted argument about Snyder. Kind of a twist here where a little bit of like, oh, I'm not so sure, but I still kind of agree with you, to a complete, I'm making up a version of these people that doesn't exist and I'm rallying against them. And then we cap it all off with, or the Batman v Superman scene where he comforts a little girl who lost her family. I'm surprised he didn't adopt her, which again shows that this first poster originally wasn't necessarily arguing about Snyder fans and that this was co-opted so that Drake here could crusade against a group of people who he isn't interacting with and who he has a vendetta against, a bias, and he's willing to invent an imaginary version of those people to get mad at. So, in the series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interactions, we go from Batman can comfort children to Zack Snyder's the reason that people don't think he can do that, to, well, that's weird because that Batman does that, to, yeah, but his fans don't acknowledge it, based on absolutely nothing but what I'm trying to say here, and I don't want to change my initial opinion. Followed up by, he does rescue people, but I'm not going to call you out on that. So, as much as I maybe don't personally agree with the argument that the first poster is making, that people think that Batman can't be a comforting figure, I think what largely I've seen is people who say that Batman would never be aggressive or angry or violent, because he would always respond to every single villain like he would treat a terminally ill child, which is, of course, hyperbolic, and it gets rid of all of the nuance of the character. And it removes context, it removes character agency, and it removes the ability to take these characters into different directions, not even new, but just directions they've been in the comics and animation films in the past. You don't have to look very far to see Batman, who's gone through some interesting grappling times. Even if you're a relatively new reader with the New 52 or Rebirth, he's gone through some stuff. So, but I would advise reading further back than that. I do think go back to the original Crisis event. Maybe if you can read pre-Crisis even. It's a really fascinating way to look at the way DC's evolved. But this is a play-by-play where a non-Snyder post gets co-opted into Snyder hate, and then you see someone just kind of inventing a version of this fandom to be mad about based on no evidence at all, and just holding a grudge and wanting to argue about it. And then that thing that never happened, these things that no one actually ever said and that they don't believe, is used as a valid excuse to bully people for things they don't believe and didn't say, because it all existed in this person, specifically Drake's mind here. But it happens repeatedly. And that's the play-by-play of how someone takes a harmless conversational point about a character in general, sharpens it into a weapon against a group he doesn't like, and then invents a villainization so that he can charge against it, like Don Quixote tilting against windmills, thinking they're dragons. It's a bit silly, and you're going to see a lot more of this going around. I'm going to be doing a couple different series breaking down the way this goes. Only by analyzing this sort of mania can we begin to understand the way that all of this misinformation gets spread. And once we understand that, we can reverse engineer it, and we can go back to a normal way of talking about movies and comic books and video games and the way they're meant to be enjoyed, as a hobby with no right or wrong answer. So, thank you very much for watching. Don't be like Drake. This is very weird behavior. This has been Play by Play.